be good. Let's talk about Roblania for a minute because that's what you're really known for in this community. First of all, how long exactly have you been involved in Roblania?
So I guess I've always kind of been involved ever since I'm at A's, really, I've always been involved. Um, oh shit. I can't remember when I met A's. Um, I think I met A's in 2019. I remember whenever I was working with A's was I don't remember the name of the federation. It wasn't his federation, or maybe it was, but he wasn't the only. There was a Fed going on and he was working with it and I did a little bit with them and then they ended the Fed and then pretty sure A's started doing his RWI Federation again and that's when I started having a few matches for him, doing stuff on behind the scenes, being a manager on TV. I mean, it was fun working with A's, um, with like the road wrestling stuff. Whenever I got involved with the channel, the YouTube and stuff, that was around the time where A's was starting to slow down a little bit on road. He wasn't slowing down on road wrestling. He was branching out more because he wanted to have more exposure on his road wrestling. And at the time, there was media, but nobody was really doing like full on media like YouTube. And to the extent that A's was making and creating, around I want to say late 2020 or mid 2020 we started doing the Steiner section, and and honestly, 2020, I, I'm gonna get off track here for a second, but 2020, it was a bad year for Road Wrestling, but at the same time, it was a really interesting year because COVID was happening and lockdown was going on, and everyone was stuck at home. So, what did everyone do? Everyone road wrestled, and I think that brought a lot more people to the community, and that also at the same time, uh, kind of killed the community a little bit. But yeah, that's a sidebar. We'll probably get into that later. But for the Steiner section, that was something A's brought to me, saying that he wanted to do a show and asked me if I wanted to do it.
So
And
Ace is the one who created it.
yes.
Mhm.
Um and then for the first episode, I wrote this well, oh no, I didn't write the script. He basically he wrote the first couple of scripts for the show, and then he started to do more with the media and asked if I could script. So I started like as the show went on, like I would record my lines that I did, send them to him. If he ever like needed something to be revised or something, he would be like, "Hey, you want to change this?" And yeah. But I remember for like the first two episodes of the Steiner session, we actually there was Origin CA was doing a football league at the time called the RWFL. It was mainly filled with road wrestlers just doing Roblox football. And for like the first two episodes of the Steiner section, we kind of covered what they were doing, just because we at the time for what I at least I saw for the Steiner section, I didn't want it to be just road wrestling. I wanted us to be able to reach out so we can reach more viewers than just road wrestling and more throughout Roblox sports, which that didn't really happen because I mean, yeah, I just stuck with road wrestling, but I mean, it was an idea, and I think it would have worked if I stuck with it more.
I have never heard this story actually. I mean, it's the first time I have heard it. I never seen the first two episodes of the Sinus Sections. You've actually spoiled it for me. Thank you very much, by the way. Next thing is, what do you think about Roblania going to different markets like music? They have created two Spider-Man movies. There could be something more coming up. Like, do you think it could be a first sign of overexposure? Because, as we've seen recently, numbers are slightly, but they are down. Slightly, but down. Could it be overexposure? Or do you think there will be perfectly fine with it?
So I I cannot speak for A's because I am not A's, and I've said this time and time again, and I'm going to say it again. A's is the big of Roblania. I am like maybe 5% of everything that goes on there, or probably most likely less than that. A's he's the he's the game warden. He's the guy in charge. He does everything. And Roblania's Spider-Man was mainly all him, besides voice acting. But I don't want to say that Roblania has been overexposed, but with with the numbers declining, I think that's also because A's interest in what he's doing with Roblania has also declined. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe he's probably taken more focus with his real life, his personal life. And trust me, that is a great thing to do. But I think with Roblania and what happened there, um, he doesn't focus that much on creating real wrestling content anymore, which I can tell. Mainly what's going on with Roblania, at least as far as I can see, is people still come up to him asking if he would create a theme song for them, and he creates a song for them, and at the same time he puts it on the channel. So I don't. It kind of sucks to say it, but right now it kind of feels like Roblania is more of a Roll Wrestling themes channel. But I mean that's not a bad thing, and that also gives the other media's opportunity to grow and shine more, which is a great thing. And but overall, I don't want to say overexposure is the reason for the numbers declining. I think it's just because the interest declined from the creator.
Do you think Roblania could, in a couple of years, relinquish the spot as the number one in wrestling media? I mean, they rarely make any reports these days. They broadcast less and less events, which could possibly be the reason. The reason being Ace's declining interest. Do you think that they could not be number one media in our wrestling in the next year or two?
I mean, it's hard for me to say what's what would be the number one in the next 2 years because I haven't been involved with Road Wrestling in almost 2 years. So at least for Roblania, in my personal opinion, it doesn't feel like there really is a number one media right now. But I will say no one did media like Roblania when it comes to
Well, that's
creating
true.
on YouTube. Um,
That's true.
I think we could have done more with Twitter. I genuinely think our Twitter was really disappoint. The Twitter was disappointing. And if A's would have appointed someone to run the Twitter and like make stuff for Twitter, I think Twitter would have gotten the YouTube even more numbers. I I don't think Roblania will still be around 2 years from now because A's just he doesn't have that the same passion as everyone else does when it comes to media, and that's why you probably see like less and less content. It's not because he just doesn't like it. He's just not as passionate about it as other people.
Do you think, in your opinion, if Ace would dedicate himself again, Roblania could return to its old glory?
Oh, 100% guaranteed.
If you would have to point
Really,
out, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I, I just small part. If A's is surrounded by a good group of people who are not telling him just what he wants to hear and they're giving him quality feedback, yes, he can be number one.
If you have to point out the one key moment which led to Roblania becoming what many describe as the greatest wrestling media ever, what that moment would be?
The movie?
No, Roblania, the media. Well, wrestling.
I'm sorry, can you reiterate the question?
Many people believe Roblania is the greatest wrestling media ever. If you would have to point out, if you would have to point out one key moment which has led Roblania becoming that, what moment would it be?
You still there? I think you cut out there for a second.
Technical difficulties, folks.
Like
Yeah.
like you were mid question and you just cut out.
It's not my fault, I'm sorry. But ROBLANIA is described as the greatest media in our wrestling that has ever been. If you have to point out one moment which has led to ROBLANIA becoming number one, what would it be?
Holy crap! All right, do you want to? All right, can we just like redo this question? I'm really sorry. I realized that. I'm sorry. I realized that the issue is on my end. I fixed it. We should be good now.
Yeah, of course. Ah,
My apologies.
okay. So, ROBLANIA is described as the number one media ever in our wrestling. If you would have to point out one moment which has led to ROBLANIA becoming number one, what moment would it be?
So I think with whenever A's started doing the last federation that A's was doing was UWI. And what I really loved about what he did with UWI was whenever he first started doing it, he was doing a lot of promo material for the new wrestlers that were coming in. Like we had this one, his name was Carlito, and A's did a phenomenal promo video for him. Like like it was insane. Like the production was great, and it's one of actually our most viewed videos on the channel is that promo. And it just sucks too because the wrestler that who got that thing, he barely showed up to any of the shows. I think out of UWI's whole like 12 or 13-week run, he only showed up to like one show. Like it was terrible. But if you want to like if I were to pinpoint a moment where we were starting to get bigger, it was definitely the promos that he was doing for UWI because those got insane numbers, and it's just the quality of the production was really there. If you look back in retrospect at the Fed UWI, I don't know if you ever attended any of those shows. That had the potential. That was one of the most high quality production based pro wrestling shows to attend. I mean, where the fuck else are you going to see wrestling ropes that the ring ropes that move? To be fair, I mean, it was very glitchy and it fucked with the matches. So